Good evening, traders. It is Monday night, 9/25/2018, and I wanted to recap today's trading day on the tickers that I called out this morning. Just basic recap of what they actually did. So without further ado, hopefully everything is sharing the way it's supposed to be. Make sure, yeah, it looks like it is. You should be able to see my screen right now. Keep in mind, guys, it's going to take me a few days to iron out the kinks, but let's get to it. Okay, our lowest dollar ticker that we called out today was AMRN. I marked out my pre-market predictions. Remember, it gapped up over the course of the weekend. Well, turns out it didn't actually do a whole lot. We had about, well, say a whole lot, it had about $2 worth of range. But we were usually expecting this thing could have skyrocketed, right? So, in terms of what it actually did, it jumped out of the bandwidth, came up here to where it opened out, dropped down a little bit. But all in all, it was good for about somewhere in the line of $2.95. So what did that actually look like on the prediction? We did not break into the highest of the high. We didn't break into the lowest of the low. We hovered. But for a what used to be a $3 stock, but was suddenly a $10 stock, $2.90, call it $3 worth of movement. That's a lot of lateral price action for a stock in that price range. So it did good for itself, even though relatively speaking, it didn't meet the market sentiment, didn't get behind it and just drive it to the moon like an Elfin or a Tops or whatever. Don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We'll do another analysis on it first thing in the morning, and we'll be coming back. All right, so the next stop we're going to get to is P for Pandora. What did Pandora look like for us? Well, we're going to come in here. I got to get off of that. Let's jump in here, get our full 5-day value, which it doesn't want to do. There we go. Pandora had actually gapped up a little bit in the pre-market hours, and it kind of slowly tapered off. And what did it end up doing? It was an all-day fader from the gap down, but this was our predicted range. It never broke out of the opening range. What did that candle look like for you and I? Right here. So this, if you would shift it down, would have neatly fit to about 80% of the pre-market price action. I'm sorry, this would have been the pre-market price action. But it never jumps out of that bandwidth. All right, next on up, AMD. How did it do? Oh, there's why. Sorry, I'm having a little trouble. I didn't have my screen centered there in the monitor. Our pre-market prediction. This was our opening range high, opening range low, 100% above, 100% below, and we went a little over 1 Fibonacci above, but we started a little over 1 Fibonacci above the pre-market price action. What did that look like on our daily chart as a full candle? What did I say? If we were able to keep and maintain it and break that 31.52, expect to see about a 32.33. And we were actually only off by 32 cents. It reached a high of 32.61 there. So not too shabby. I don't know what you guys call accurate. You know, what's your margin of accuracy for that? But I would say we were right on the money if keeping in with it. All right, let's go take a look at the next one. BP I wasn't too happy with. It didn't have as much motion as I would have liked. I didn't expect it to do better, even though it had this big gap up. You know, BP it doesn't really have a lot of range of motion. So based on the Fibonacci projections, we set our levels, and you know, it never broke out of the pre-market opening range between the pre-market lows and the pre-market highs, but it did trade about 50% of that move. So all in all, for BP, it's about spot on the money with what an average candle should be. Didn't expect a lot more than that. Even though the pre-market data said we could have had a lot more movement, it was right on the money. MU, how did MU do today? Well, let's see. MU had slowly gapped down over the weekend, did not break the pre-market low, caught some support, broke through the daily open, broke through the pre-market resistance on the high side, and then topped out. So if we shrink that down, what's it look like? We had the full pre-market except for, let's say we bottomed out one Fibonacci above. So if we take the 100% above and we would project this up one, that would have fit the full range of movement between the 100% retracement here, or extension, and the pre-market low. What's that look like on the daily candle for us? Well, if you come here and see, it was about spot on. Look how much of this price action we were able to basically fill in. So low to high, pretty damn close. Not going to complain. All right, CMCSA. I don't think this thing had as much action as we had hoped for. I think it either gapped down, and it just didn't have the range of motion. Nobody got behind Comcast today. All in all, about 50% of the pre-market action. As you can see here where we marked it off, what's it look like on the daily? We went from our daily open, which was $35.99, so right at here, and then we basically broke down below the Bollinger Band, then price action was pushed up. So we do have a huge gap to fill for tomorrow, so I'm probably going to go ahead and keep Comcast on my watch list, and we'll break it down again tomorrow morning to see what happens. You know, this did have a lot of movement to it, even though it was a relatively short time frame. You know, that is, let's measure it out, a grand total of $1.50 worth of movement for a $35, $36 stock, 4.3% change in total price. You tag that a couple of times in a day's time, and you're looking at an 8 to 12% change. Okay, I could live with that. Definitely something I'm going to keep on the radar for tomorrow to see if it's going to go ahead and break out of this Bollinger Band and fall to the floor, or is it going to catch some support and this was just a pullback and now we're going to go ahead and continue in an upward direction. We'll see tomorrow morning. What did it look like on the actual projection? As you can see, the weekend projection, just because of the pre-market action and that gap down, very widely different than what we would have expected to see in a regular candle from the projection. So our projection was understandably much larger than the action we actually saw. All right, the next one I'm not even going to touch. Gold, it just fizzled out, so we'll hit it for just a second. This thing just, I just don't play these a lot, but it looked like it had promise this morning. Never broke out of basically a 20% projection on the move. Never broke out truly of the morning range where it had gapped up. But candle size was average. Now, the good news is where it gapped up, we're firmly outside of the Bollinger Band. I expect to see if this thing doesn't take off, this thing's going to start climbing back down to fill that gap. I don't like the action. It's not something I like to play. Let's just take a relative movement to it. We're looking at about a $1.15 movement. So less than the previous stock of Comcast and double the price. So it takes a lot more money to make, or a lot more shares to make a lot more money out of it, or even comparable. So yeah, just not something I'm probably going to touch. Next one up after that was TOT. Totals. All right. It didn't do too great either. Had a little more range than gold did, but it gapped up. People just didn't get behind it. Candle size, I'd say, was average, you know. Still $65 stock, and it's what, about $1 and, no, not even $1, 84 cents worth of total range to it. Just not your best ticker you could be playing if you're really trying to get as much price action as possible. All right, let's keep going. Tesla's that wild card. It does what it wants. Crazy days. Look at this. Well, what was our market prediction looking like? So, bam, cover that pre-market action up in there. Shrink it down so we can see what happened. We did break out of our morning hot pre-market high, and we did break out of the morning pre-market low. So we had one Fibonacci here, project that up. So we were about 80%, 90% filling pre-market to one full Fibonacci extension above of the 100%. So this was one hell of a candle, great range of motion. What did that look like on our chart? A little bit less than average size candle, still very predictable. And look at where we said it was going to be. You know, definitely fitting in there for the range of motion. All right, Netflix, NFLX. Yeah. All right, where are we, Mr. Netflix? Netflix had a pretty good range of motion in the pre-market hours. We went one full Fibonacci below the pre-market low, and we were one Fibonacci shy of our 100% projection up. So if you couple those two together, we've got exactly the pre-market low to 100% above. That makes this thing spot on the money. What did that look like in reality? Bam. Talk about filling that gap. Look at that. Full candle action. Couldn't ask for better than that. And if you follow me, you know, I love these fibs. You know, our fibs are definitely paying the bills in terms of giving us a good spot to shoot for our support and resistance and where we're looking at taking profit. Is there more to it than just Fibonacci? Of course. But when I'm breaking things down nice and quick for you, this is one of the tools that keeps me consistent. So let's look at Facebook. Facebook, what do we have here? I think trading should come with sound effects. What do you guys think? All right. Oh, God, that's crappy. I'm tired. It's late. I want to go to bed, get up, do it all again. So we started out, dropped all the way to our pre-market low, rejected, got above the daily open, come up. It tested our pre-market high, fell back one Fibonacci, finally got up and held up above. It broke, retested that Fibonacci and says, no, we're not going down. We're taking off. Made 50% of the 100% extension. So this is about 75% of the move that we had hoped for. What does that look like on the actual candles here? All right. So what did we do? We pulled back up off of the Bollinger Band a little bit. That is a very full candle for our price expectancy. It held that support. Now, if market sentiment changes tomorrow or the next day as we approach the later part of the week and it comes around here, consolidates a little bit, and it follows this previous pattern, I expect to see Facebook taking a little bit of a drop. So it is definitely going to be on my continued watch list. All right, moving forward. Next one is Baba. Baba was probably my all-time underrated performer of the day. Just did not do what I wanted it to do. We had a lot of pre-market action. I had really good expectations for this thing, and fizzle, fizzle, fizzle. So what did it basically do? If we shifted everything down, it stayed within our pre-market high and low sizing, except for it was shifted downward a little bit. So nothing crazy, average size candle when you count the wicks, but the body itself was smaller than what I expected to see. Market sentiment just wasn't into the Baba today. You know, people weren't behind it. There was so much other stuff going on they wanted to play with. But we fell right in the range where we expected to stay. Didn't perform like we wanted it to, but we were well within our tolerances for what we were expecting. Apple, how did Apple do today? People were going crazy over Apple, if I remember correctly. That's the great thing about not being able to remember a damn thing. Every day is a new day. Every time I come back and look at these charts, it's something new. All right, Apple. Daily open, drop down to the pre-market low, come up, tested the pre-market high, rejected it, started coming back down through the VWAP, doesn't make it all the way to the opening bell, says, nope, screw you, we're wanting to play, we're going to gain some value, comes up through the pre-market high, makes its way all the way up to and holds the 100% extension. What did that look like on the daily? Well, bounced around. This thing's been riding on an uptrend for a while now. So we had that big pullback over last week where the tech stocks kind of took a nosedive. But compared to Friday's action, this is a completely engulfing candle. So we should be golden to see this thing possibly continue the uptrend starting tomorrow. So Apple will definitely be on my watch list. And what did that actually look like? There we go. That was a major portion of the spread. And if you remembered, said if it is able to hold the 216.48 for resistance, which we were only off by, I don't know, let's see. Maybe right there. 56. So about 10 cents off our projection and maybe short another 10 cents on the top side. All in all, not bad, you know, to say this thing had a range of motion of $4.59, 58 cents. If I'm off by 10 cents on, you know, a $4.50 move, nail me to the cross, guys. I'm sorry. I was just off. But I like it. Hope y'all enjoyed the release this morning. I don't have anything crazy for you. As always, again, thank you for coming and day trading with Nuke. Just want to start giving you that evening recap. For those of you just joining in, never seen this before, I am a moderator over at Boiler Room Trading. We do this every day. And if you haven't seen us yet or haven't become a part of the family, come on over to Boiler Room Trading and get in on the action. All right. Hope to see you guys tomorrow. Peace.